What up, YouTube? Thank you for dropping a bunch of comments on my last video around Google sign-in. That was really cool. I didn't think that many people would be taking a look at it. So from one of the suggestions in the comments, I'm going to cover Google's one-tap sign-in for web library. I'm going to show you how to use that in a React app, this time using hooks. All right, I'm going to show you how to create this thing right here, which is the Hello World React app, where you use the Google One-Tap Sign-In prompt. I'm sure you've seen this online on a few places. So you are able to just click on your account and you sign in. Cool. And then when I click sign out, boom, you get the prompt again. This is what I'm going to show you how to build. So if you want to see a text version of this walkthrough, this is available on my site. I'm putting a link in the description below. So you can go there to kind of follow along with the same steps that I'm going to be doing here in this video. So let's get started. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do create React app. I'm going to do the standard boilerplate create React app, and I'm going to call this one tap demo. And let's watch paint dry. All right, so I've created the one-tap demo. So let's log in. I'm going to do npm run start so that I can see the actual UI. So it opened up in my other screen. Let's put that here. Cool. So this is your stock boilerplate React application. Cool. What's next? All right, so let's do some of the standard boilerplate first, where I want to keep track if a user signed in. So that'll be somewhat straightforward. Cool. All right, so I'm going to jump into VS Code, and I've opened up my one-tap demo folder. I'm going to jump over to app.js. That's the first one that I need. Sure, yeah, you can do that. And I'll hide that. What we have here is just your basic create React app example. So the first thing is I'm going to add. I'm going to keep track of the users being signed in. So I'm going to do is signed in and set is signed in. I'm going to use that as a state with the initial value of false. Cool. And I'm going to take out this part with the link. I'm going to check if the user signed in. If so, I'm going to write you are signed in. If not, you are not signed in. I'm going to capitalize not because I'm most likely going to get confused. Cool. All right. So let's see what we have now. Jump back into here. Oh, use state is not defined because I have to import it. I think that's import use state from React. Yes. All right. Cool. I am not signed in. Great. So next thing I have to do is add in the GSI, the Google Sign-In Library, which is a script you have to drop into your index.html. This has a few issues, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to jump into index.html for this React app. And I'm just going to throw an extra script tag that's at the in the head at the bottom. So I'm going to write script source. That's the GSI client, as they call it, and the instructions say to use async defer for your script, and we'll do that. So doing this alone, if I refresh the page, everything's fine. Let me take a look at the console. Everything here should be okay. Yeah, no big issues. And if I look at the elements on the page, just to make sure that the script is actually making it there. The GSI client has added in a few extra pieces to the head of my HTML. These two are mine. So it added in this Google Identity Service button styles. That's cool. So that was injected by that script. So far, so good. So in order to use the JavaScript library, you have to initialize it. when the app loads, I want to initialize the Google sign-in library. So I'm going to add a use effect hook, and I'm going to have this not monitor anything for changes, which means it'll just run once the first time this component is loaded. And since I'm only using one component because this is the entire app, this has the effect of making sure that this method will only run once. So to use the Google sign-in library, you want to use the Google namespace, google.accounts.id.initialize. And here I'm going to pass in a client ID. That's what they expect to do because we don't have that yet. I'm going to walk you through that too. They've updated the flow through their little wizard, so I'm just going to show you the latest one rather than show you my old video. Let's see what happens. If I refresh the page, boom, use effect is not defined and Google is not defined. Right, where is Google coming from? This variable will be made globally available whenever this script loads. The key there is whenever this script loads, because we're using the async and defer keyword, which means the script will be pulled in dynamically. It will not block the loading of the page, and whenever it gets downloaded, it gets the script gets run. So you might see that, like, well, how do you know that when I call the Google library here, how do I know that it's available, right? Because clearly VS Code doesn't know that it's available. And so that's the problem number one. I don't think you actually have control over that. Sometimes it might work, and sometimes it won't. And I think I can show you, if you refresh the page enough times, you can see how often it's happening. So to fix the first failure, I'm just putting in use effect. And in order to get VS Code to stop complaining, I'm going to add a global Google, and then that'll come VS Code. Let me refresh the page a bunch. Let's see what happens. Okay, looks like I might have to revisit this later because I can't get it to happen now, but it was happening a bunch while I was writing this tutorial, and I wanted to point it out for the video, but you know, it never happens when you want. All right, so we're gonna skip that part and we're gonna go into initializing this. So I don't have a valid Google Client ID, and so that's what I'm gonna walk you through next. Let's take a look. So I'm gonna go get my Google Client ID, and for that you have to go to here. This is the official docs for one-tap sign-in. You can jump into the Google APIs console. I like to call it the Google Developer Console, console.developers.google.com. So this is where you can manage all of your Google things. All right, if you're doing this for the first time, you might have to create a new project. So I'm going to walk you through that just so you can get a chance to see. So this is my one-tap demo project, and I'm going to create it. I'm going to jump into my one-tap demo project. I'm going to go over into credentials, and I haven't created any of this yet. And remember to configure the OAuth consent screen if I do create credentials for OAuth client. I need to go through configuring the consent screen before I can actually create it. So I'm going to say that my user type, this is going to be public for anybody, but you can also limit this to G Suite domains. So you can make sure that the credentials that you create for your project only allow users from your G Suite domain to log in. Not necessarily just gmail.com, but any G Suite domain. So I'm going to make that external. All right, so this is app name. If you look over here on the side, this is exactly kind of with what you fill in and where it's going to appear. So my app name, which is going to appear here, is one-tap demo app name. And when you see the prompt, we'll be able to identify it. That's why I'm just including app name here. User support email. That one is my email. And I'm not going to upload a logo right now. Let's see, we have to select a domain because there's going to be a link to it in the prompt. So this is going to go back to my site, intricatecloud.io. Authorized domain, which is the domain that I'm going to be using. When the domain is used on the consent screen or in an OAuth, it must be pre-registered here. Oh, it means this and this have to be the same. That's what they mean. Cool. And this is the top level. All right. And this is still going to be my email address because I'm the developer. All right, now it's asking me for scopes. What is it that I want to get from the user? So if I click this, what I really only need is email address and profile, like name and stuff. I think that's maybe OpenID. These I think are usually the default. I'm just going to select them all because they all sound like the thing that I need. So I'm going to click update. That adds the scopes. Save and continue. Test users. When publishing status set to testing, only test users are able to access the app. No, I don't care about this. Save and continue. All right, and that's all my information. And great. Can I create my credentials? Yes, I got no warning again. So I'm going to do web application. This is going to be one tap demo. I'm going to set the authorized JavaScript origins. So if you're following along and you're on this site, remember to read these things that are in purple. Because they were in purple, maybe I didn't pay attention to it the first time, but I lost like 30 minutes trying to figure out why I couldn't get the prompt to show up on my React app because I had forgotten to include localhost. I had only put localhost 3000, so make sure to do that. Localhost 3000, which is the React app, and then this one is to satisfy Google. This is really an issue for just local development because if you were to make this public and you'd be using this actually under some domain name, you'd be using your actual domain name. You wouldn't be using a specific port, and neither of them would be localhost, so it really wouldn't be an issue. For authorized redirect URI, I'm going to use localhost because that's where it's supposed to go. Localhost 3000. Cool. Create. And this is my client. Cool, I got my client ID. I don't think we're actually going to use the client secret. We just need the client ID. So I'm going to close out of here, and we can jump back to VS Code, and I'm going to paste in my client ID. Boom. Cool. So I've initialized the Google sign-in library, right? So that's initialized, or at least I expect it to be. Now we want to prompt the user. And to do that, I'm going to add google.accounts.id.prompt. And this takes a callback that provides a notification. And let's just console log on prompt notification. And let's put in the notification. Let's see what happens. This should be enough to get me going. So if I save and I refresh the page, let's put this back in the middle now. Boom, hey, cool, nice. I had the sign-in library. All right, I'm not signed in. Oh, on prompt notification, this is what the notification object has. A property called G and a property called H. Thank you. I even wonder if they're G and H all the time. Well, looks like it. So this must mean that, yes, it is actually displaying it. Cool. Oh, and then when I click outside, it says skipped. And now if I refresh, cool. All right, and boom, we have it working. Are we there yet? Not really. There's still a bunch of things that we have to do. So there's a big warning and a big asterisk because you might lose a few hours trying to do this when you do this yourself. For the purposes of this tutorial, for the purposes of this tutorial, don't click the X here. Now, I know you might go and click the X. If you click the X twice, this prompt will not appear for 2 hours or up to 2 hours or somewhere between like 5-15 minutes. There's some table that's there online, but I what I saw and what the table says were giving me different results. So the warning is if you click that X multiple times in your session, actually I'm just gonna show you what that does right now. I might have to wait an additional 5 minutes before I can continue with the tutorial, but oh, come on. Clicking outside the box will skip it, and that will not count towards your dismissal. But watch, if I click the X, it's skipped and it's canceled by the user, and if I refresh the page, it does not pop up. Oh my God, and now it says it is not displaying because it was suppressed by user. The first time I did this, I clicked the X by accident, and so hunting around, one of the things that happens is if you jump over into the application part of your Chrome DevTools, you'll notice that there is a cookie that's used by your domain, and these are all the ones that are coming in from Google. Like I didn't add any of this, and I don't think React App added any of this. There's no reason for it to be here. And so there's a bunch of data here. The one in particular that we care about is this one called GState. GState is where the Google sign-in library is keeping track of whether or not you've dismissed it or you really didn't want to see the prompt. So if I remove all the cookies, that'll also do it. Whoops. And if I remove that and I refresh the page, oh, now it says opt out or no session. I didn't opt out. Empty cache and hard reload. Oh no, I did the thing that I was warning you to not do. And now I don't even know what I did. So I'm stuck. I'm currently stuck here. I've tried incognito sessions, new windows. I think the setting is based on your public IP, and so I can't quite change that unless I just go to a different computer. Like if I load it on my phone, I'll probably be able to see the prompt, but that's not going to help for this stream right here. So while I have the opportunity here, we can drill a little bit into how to debug any issues that you might run into with the prompt, such as this. Because right now we are just printing the notification object that we get from the prompt callback, right? So this is all that we're seeing. We're seeing this notification object. There's actually a few methods on it that are helpful. So you can do if notification dot is not displayed. You can ask, why? Tell me why the notification get not displayed reason. Is that it? Yes. Get not displayed reason. That is the function. Is that right? Get not displayed reason. Yep. So what else can happen? Else if notification is skipped moment. Do you remember that part at the beginning of the video where when you click outside of the prompt, you'll saw the word skipped in that notification object? You can also ask, why? Get me the get skipped reason. Otherwise, there's also one more. Well, not otherwise. I think they just give you these three types. Is dismissed moment. I think if it's been dismissed or skipped or it's not showing up for any reason, it'll be one of these three. But when it's successful, you're actually not going to see any of these get a reason. So that's why we're going to use the if and else if approach. But again, you can ask why. Notification, get me the this is the dismiss. Get me dismissed reason. All right, let's see what happens. Save and refresh. It says opt out or no session, but that doesn't tell me anything. So let's actually add something else here. Is not displayed, and let's just do that for all of them. Is whoops. This is skipped, and is dismissed. Let's see what that is. Okay, it's not displayed. Great. And we are back. This is now an hour and a half, somewhere around an hour and a half. I've been checking in every 15, 20 minutes. I went and took a break. I went and did something different because, I can't just keep on refreshing the page. Then I'm not sure if it's like something I did, if it's never coming back, but it's been about an hour and a half and it finally came back. So now I'm not going to hit the X and I'm going to try to walk through the rest of this tutorial before I accidentally either skip it or hit the X and then I have to wait another 2 to 3 hours before I see this again. So the issue that I just ran into is what they call exponential cool down mode, which means that if you dismiss the prompt, because at the end of the day, what they want is if you stick this prompt on your website, that you're not going to continuously pester the user, right? Because it's a thing that causes you to pay attention over to the corner. On mobile, you're going to see a little card pop up, and if you really don't want to be seeing that, you're going to hit the X and you're going to expect not to see it again, right? Because you're always going to have a different form of sign-in. Just in this example that I have here, it's either I have the prompt or I don't. All right, so what's next? So I have the prompt, and now I want to sign in, right? So before I click this, I'm going to make an update to the app here. When I initialize GSI, here's what I'm going to do when the user gets prompted. This notification object doesn't actually contain any data that we can use to identify the user. So there's a callback that we can pass in here. I believe that's called callback. And the callback we're going to use, let's call it on one tap signed in. Right, and let's define that. Const on one tap signed in is a function that takes a response. This is what we're going to get back from the GSI. Cool. So when the user signs in, we're going to get a response. Let's set is signed in to true because I'm now signed in. And now let's get the user's info. This is what we want the whole time, to be able to see your name and your avatar, right? So if you take a look at what's in the response, right, if we console log the response, you're going to see what's in there. Cool. Oh, no. I tapped outside. Good. I just skipped it. I didn't do anything else with it. Let's sign in. Here's what pops up. It popped up on my other window. Here's what pops up, right? So this is the app name that you saw. And if you click this, this will link you to, this will show the developer info. Cool. Got it. So here you can confirm. Cool. I'll confirm that this is what I want to do. I signed in. And this guy, now it says it got dismissed because the credential was returned. And this is the response object that we're seeing here. It contains the client ID and what's called the credential. Now, that credential is the user's JWT token signed by Google. And so that's the token that we can use to get the user's information. So that property is called credential. So inside of that credential, right, that's a JWT token. So I can go to, let me copy this. I'll show you what I mean. Copy, and then there's a jwt.io. Which will let you take a look, will let you decode JWT token. So when I paste this in, boom, this is the token, right? It's signed, and in the payload, I have Danny at intricatecloud.io. I have a G Suite domain. This is my Google identifier. I have my name and my avatar. So all this information is available here inside of the token. So we have to do basically just the same thing that's happening here. And for that, there is a library called JWT decode. Let me show you that. JWT decode, which is a library that will let you decode JSON web tokens. Here, the first one. Let you decode JSON web tokens both in the browser and outside of the browser. Yeah. Basically, we're going to do this. We're going to import JWT decode and then use it and then see what we can get. So I'm going to import JWT decode from JWT decode. That's hard to say, JWT decode. And let me install that, right? It says can't resolve it. In this session, I'm going to do npm install -- save JWT decode. Let's see. Cool, that's installed. And if I hit save, can't resolve still. Npm run start. Maybe I have to restart it. And still can't resolve it. Oh, cool, yes, that's done. All right, I'm gonna continue. Oh, I didn't actually use it yet. All right, let's jump back over here. I have here, and on one tap signed in, I have the response. So let's do decoded token equals JWT decode response.credential. That credential singular. That is the object that has the token in it. So we can use that to decode it. So let's take a look at what's in here. Decoded token. Let's make sure we have what we're expecting. Save, refresh. Oh, come on. Save, refresh, sign in, and then here it is. This is now the token decoded. So what I can do, now I can take any of this data, save it inside of my React state, and then show it and do something with it. So let's make it look like what I showed in the beginning. So I'm going to add another piece of state, and I'm going to call this user info. And set user info equals use state, and the initial value is going to be null. All right. Now that I have my decoded token, I'm going to call set user info with the decoded token, so I can just get at all the properties that are inside of the token. And now I'm going to go over into the render function, and now let's take a look at what I'm supposed to see. So if I'm signed in, then I see I'm signed in, else I'm going to see I am not signed in. When I am signed in, let me fix that. When I am signed in, I want to show my user info. So I'm going to change this to hello, hello user info.name with email, or not with email, user info.email, right? It's anything that I can access inside of that token. So I've got, let's see, I've got my email, family name, given name, HD. HD stands for hosted domain. It means if you're a G Suite customer, so you have your own domain with G Suite. The issuer, my full name, and my picture, and what's called the subclaim, which is a unique identifier on Google side that I can use to identify myself across different sessions. So really, I just want my name and email, right? So I have name and email. So let's make sure I can actually take a look at this. Let's wrap that there, and that looks like valid JSX. And let's try it. Continue as Danny. Oh, snap. Cannot read property name of null. Oh, what if is signed in and I have you? If I'm both signed in and I have user info, is that good enough? Oh, click ignored. Click too soon. Cool. There's my name. And now this is what I showed at the beginning of the video. You have now added in the Google One Tap library. Great, fantastic. How do I sign out? Signing out has an awkward answer. I don't know. Now, if you follow the official docs, right, they're going to tell you to add a div with a particular ID, right? So the docs say, I'm going to add this here. So hello, and inside of that hello, let's put this on another line. They're going to tell you to add a div with the ID GID signout. And the website seems to suggest that if you just do that, something will appear on the page. Let me shrink this because we don't have to pay attention to it as much now. Once I'm signed in, oh, I need to sign in again and refresh. I'm signed in. And where's my sign out button? Oh, I added in an empty div. Whoops. All right, I added in sign out. Oh. You know, it's not supposed to be stuck there, but all right. Yes, continue as me. All right. The doc suggests if you just add in that div, you should be able to do something with it. If you take a look, there's nothing additional that's happened to it, right? So there's no click handler attached because I haven't attached one. So this is a little bit awkward because if you're integrating this, I think the lifetime of you signing in via one tap, the lifetime of that is for the duration that your page is open. If you close it or if you refresh, I think you would expect to be signed out, which is why during local development, like right now, I'm refreshing the page and I get the prompt and I can continue through the whole sign-in flow. So sign out here, I think, means two things. If you want to make it appear as if the user signed out, I think you can just refresh the page. I don't think you have to do anything too fancy. I think you can do something just as easy as window.reload. So I'm going to do that to show you. I don't need to give it any particular ID, and I can give it an on-click handler, which will be window.location.reload. I think that's what it is. I think so, yeah. Let's try it. I've refreshed, continue as myself, sign in. Do I have sign out? It refreshed. See? So this flow is enough to give you the appearance of signing out because all you're going to do is refresh the page anyway. I think what's actually implied by signing in is that you would forward that token along to one of your backends and then start a session on your own servers for your user, right? So then when you click sign out, you're really signing out of your own application and you're not signing out of Google. Another thing that's called out in the docs is about enabling auto sign-in, which is if you only have one account signed in and you want to enable, you want the user to sign in automatically if they only have one profile to choose from or if they've already selected one profile, which I don't think I'd recommend because it would make for a little bit of an awkward experience. One, if you have multiple accounts like I do, for the purpose of right now, I'm just using one. But you wouldn't give the user an option to not to be in the logged in version of your site. So it kind of really depends on what it is that you need. But for sign out, if you want to allow the user to sign in and you have auto sign in enabled, that means that if you do sign out by reloading the page, the user will sign out, but then when the page reloads, you'll just sign back in again. So you won't actually be able to give the appearance of signing out. So the way that I've left it and the way that seems to make the most sense is by not enabling auto sign-in. And here's my initialize, right? All I have is my client ID and my callback. There's a few other options like if you want to tap outside to cancel or dismiss, there's an option for that, and you can look at the docs there. Cool. What else? Now, for some of the limitations on using this library, first off, this only works on Chrome and Firefox on Android, iOS, Mac OS, Linux, and Windows 10. If you have users that are going to be popping up on Safari, I'll show you what happens. I'm on a Mac. I'll show you what happens when we launch this in Safari. Boom, access localhost. Nothing comes up, right? Obviously, because it's not supported. And then let's see the developer console. We see that the notification object says this is not displayed because of opt-out or no session. So on Safari, you're going to see that the reason for that is opt-out. So this is really only going to work for a subset of your users. This is great for like very public-facing apps where you have a not signed out experience and a signed in experience, and some of that might be meshed. So, for example, Medium.com. That's an example that actually caused me to put together the video. I wanted to see how it worked. On Medium, you're going to be seeing blog posts anyway, and so if you're browsing through things and you just see the prompt come up on the corner, you can click it and you're not going to be navigated away, right? In a typical sign-in flow, you might be redirected from your current page, or you might have a pop-up that appears. Here, it's just a prompt that's embedded within the web page. You sign in and your experience doesn't really change much, right? They're just going to show you your avatar and give you any notifications, things of that sort. We already went through what happens if you click the X. This is not a reliable thing to expect your users to see. We might click X accidentally. Maybe I'm just browsing and I don't want to sign in and I've clicked X. And maybe I've clicked it too many times. If you look at the Exponential Cool Down section on the docs, you'll see that the more times you dismiss it within a short window of time, the longer you won't see it. So even if you implement it, there's a chance your users might have accidentally clicked out of it and then won't actually run into it. The other thing that I kind of don't like is if you're using Google Sign-In for websites, which uses what I call gappy.auth2 library. That comes from a script called like platform.js off of Google servers. That auth library is separate from this one. So if you want both, you need to include two separate scripts from Google. One for the sign-in button in case the user hasn't seen the prompt or clicked out of the prompt, and you need the one for the prompt. So this is primarily as a upgraded experience, right? If you're a Google user and you want to sign in without your password somewhere else, you don't want to sign in using a pop-up, or you don't want to get redirected from your page. You can use the one-tap sign-in for web library in order to be able to do that. All right, to wrap this up, thank you for watching. I have all of this code uploaded to GitHub, so you can check out the link. It's down below. Or take a look at the blog post. It's also available there. So there's a GitHub repo that's got all this code. If you can clone the repo, create your own Google Client ID off of the Google Developer Console or the Google Developers API console. Create your own client ID. You can just drop it in, do npm install, npm run start, and then you'll be able to see this demo and play around with it. So definitely check it out. Thank you guys. Peace.